Could you take the roll, please?
Harrow,
Here.
Murphy Lopez, Brewer,
Here.
Steep, McKee, Reddish,
Here.
Luck, Manning,
Here.
Gotchall,
Here.
Glassburner,
She's here. Here.
Rudersdorf. Here. Gentis. Turk,
Here.
Cosgrove. Frank. Severson,
Present.
Williamson. Hui. Fleming. Voice. McGuire. Mr. Chair, we have 19 and a quorum.
Therefore, we have a quorum. And to lead us in invocation is my good friend and fellow school bus driver. But that's not why he's here. He's here due to his ministerial duties. Randy Sanders. Randy, take it away. Pray aloud on the school bus.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, I want to thank you so much for the blessings of safety and coming here tonight, and keep everyone safe going home. Pray, Lord, for a spirit of wisdom tonight and of understanding beyond our own means. Your guidance. Help us in all that we say and do for your glory and honor and praise. Bless this meeting, Lord, to accomplish and to move forward. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Ms. Hagee, would you lead us in the pledge? Flags over there.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a 35-point agenda tonight, and I would entertain a motion to approve that agenda. Mrs. Glassbrenner, seconded by Mr. Cosgrove. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We have an agenda. The minutes of the May 17th meeting, do I have any additions, corrections? I think I will declare them then approved as published. And we will move on to item number 6, report on positions for zoning amendments. And we're actually, we've got a lot of rezoning amendments and recommendations. And Melissa Luck will be handling that for Mr. Bindle. Go ahead, Ms. Luck.
Mr. Chair, there are 6 petitions to refer on to the Land and Zoning Committee for this month.
Okay, and those are being referred to committee.
Correct.
We have nothing to take action on. Okay, thank you very much. And nothing for denial, I would assume.
Nothing, correct.
Okay. Number 8, ordinance repealing ordinance number 99-11 and adopting the general schedules for county government as established by the State of Wisconsin Public Records Board for use in the disposal of obsolete county records. Ms. Hagee.
This will be ordinance 22-3. The Richland County Board of Supervisors does hereby ordain as follows. 1, ordinance number 99-11 is out of date and need of revision. 2, the State of Wisconsin Public Records Board has created a record retention schedule for use by Wisconsin counties and local governments. 3, the attached appendix entitled General Schedule, including addendums B, C, E, and F, is intended to be the only retention schedule dealing with county records to provide both officials, employees, and the general public a single point of reference pertaining to the general records of the county. And the Richland County Board of Supervisors, that ordinance number 99-11 is hereby repealed and replaced with ordinance number 22-3 to read as contained in the following appendix. And department heads shall provide the county administrator and the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee notice of the destruction of any county record or records and/or transference to the Wisconsin State Historical Society at least 7 days in advance of either action being taken, and corporation counsel shall be consulted as needed when questions regarding the retention of a county record arise, and in the event the State of Wisconsin Public Records Board amends the general schedule for county governments and corresponding addendums, ordinance number 22-3 will encompass the amended schedule as set forth therein. The ordinance shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This ordinance was offered by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee as of 2 June 22.
You've heard the ordinance. What is your pleasure? Mr. McKee, seconded by Mr. Seep. And this is, if you've ever been in the county clerk's office lately, and it's getting better, but it's surrounded by piles and piles and piles and piles of paper. And this is sorely needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We have a new ordinance dealing with disposal of obsolete county records. I say just put them in a big pile out, break them out. Okay. Resolution to approve changing auto physical damage and property insurance carriers and the policy records. Ms. Hagee.
This will be resolution number 22-50. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to change the auto, physical damage, and property insurance providers from Integrity and Municipal Property Insurance Company to Wisconsin County Mutual Insurance Corporation, and the policy periods from July to July to January to December calendar year. And be it further resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that County Administrator Langrick may sign any document needed to bind said coverages, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee as of June 7, 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What is your pleasure? Mrs. Ruterdorf moves, seconded by Seep. We're changing carriers. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Resolution approving the county taking a tax deed to tax parcel 24-3343-4100. Ms. Hagee.
This will be resolution number 22-51. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the county to execute and issue a tax deed in favor of Richland County to the following described parcel of real estate in the town of Richwood, which is known as tax parcel number 024-3343-4100, as to which the county owns and holds the following unredeemed tax certificates in the following years. Be it further resolved that this resolution will be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. Resolution was offered by the Public Works Standing Committee as of 9 June 2022.
Okay, I notice Attorney Wendell is not among us tonight, but I'm assuming this is all in accordance with his direction.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There I am. Thank you, Jason. Yes, these three have been reviewed by Corporation Counsel Attorney Wendell. They're brought forward from Treasurer Jeffrey Even and then reviewed through Public Works.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a resolution before us, taking a tax deed. And it has been properly, researched and developed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Supervisor Severson, you had a comment. I'm sorry. I didn't see you until too late. But go ahead.
Is this property being occupied by a person living there or family?
That I do not know. Mr. Langdrick, are you of that knowledge?
I'm not of that knowledge. I would have to look back. I don't recall any of them being currently occupied, but I would have to look back.
Do you think otherwise, Carrie? Do you know of someone?
Comment.
Okay. Number 11, resolution approving the county taking a tax deed to tax parcel, bunch of numbers, 634-4100. Ms. Haggy.
This would be resolution number 22-52. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the county to execute and issue a tax deed in favor of Richland County to the following described parcel of real estate in the town of Buena Vista, which is known as tax parcel number 006-0634-411, to which the county owns and holds the following unredeemed tax certificates for the following tax years. Excuse me.
Thank you, for a total of $23,742, it looks like. Yeah.
Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution was offered by the Public Works Standing Committee as of 9 June of 2022.
You've heard the resolution, what's your pleasure? Mr. McKee? Seconded by Mr. Manning. Ms. Jentz. The question is this, the, imagine the old River's Edge Motel, I believe it was called. Is this it? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, do the tires go with it, or they stay there? All right, we get the tires. Okay, all those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Number 12, resolution approving the county taking a tax deed for tax parcel 16-1731-2400. Ms. Haggy.
This is resolution 22-53. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the county to execute and issue a tax deed in favor of Richland County to the following described parcel of real estate in the town of Ithaca, which is known as tax parcel number 1731-2400, as to which the county owns and holds the following unredeemed tax certificates for the following years. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Public Works Standing Committee as of 9 June of 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Reddish. And now, Mr. Severson.
I'm gonna ask the same question that I did before. Do we check and see if there's a family living there with maybe children? And are we comfortable with displacing them after we take ownership, or are we gonna work with them if there is somebody living there?
Okay, do you have knowledge that there may be people living there, Carrie? Or is this just a general question you're making?
I'm gonna rephrase it as a general question.
I
I
would,
just asked if the research has been done before.
Well, I hope so. I'm not a part of that committee. Sean, are you on that committee? Who is on that committee that can comment, please?
Mr. Chair, I can comment on this question. This is Jeff Even, I'm on WebEx.
Oh, yeah, okay, please.
So it is believed that this residence is occupied. However, prior to us even taking these into tax deed status to be considered for action, we reach out to the property owner every other month with reminder notices. They are sent numerous letters stating that action could begin. They are sent a notice, final notice before work on the tax deed action begins. They are sent certified mailings. This particular residents received their certified mailing earlier this year, signed the receipt, which we received stating that they had 90 days to contact the county to begin satisfaction of the delinquent taxes, which we had received no contact other than receiving the acknowledgement receipt. So, yes, research goes into this. Efforts are made to contact and reach out to these property owners. Unfortunately, there are instances such as this where they do not take advantage of our communications.
But I'll follow up Mr. Severson's question. If people are living there, do we put them out on the street or? I would hope not.
Well, the typical process is just like any other foreclosure. The county board would vote to take this deed, and then we would move through the sheriff's department to serve an eviction notice.
Right, thank you. Okay. Sounds pretty draconian, but I do appreciate the effort of the property committee and resolving some of these open issues. Many of these things been hanging for years and years and years, and we're finally moving on some of them. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Oh, we already got that, right? Ms. Hickey, did we get a motion and a second on this one?
I believe it was Manning and Renish, first and second.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Okay, then we're ready to vote. All those in favor of this resolution, taking the tax deed to the parcel 16, 17, 31, 2400, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no?
No.
Okay, the ayes have it. We have an approved resolution. Number 13, resolution approving the purchase of 2 new trucks and body builds, including snow plows by the highway department. Ms. Heggie.
This is resolution number 22-54. Be it further resolved that funds for these purchases are in the county highway department's account in the 2022 county budget. And be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Highway Committee of 13 April of 22, and this resolution was taken to Oversight Committee prior to the reorganization.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Manning. Seconded by Mr. Cooley. Buying truck was in the budget. Mr. Manning. Can't hear you, Gary. Speak into the mic, please.
Asking Josh, I know these have been on like back order for a long time.
Okay, thank you. Are they here? Can I get them?
Okay, currently, trucks are just hard to get. What we're fighting for right now is a place online to actually get a truck built. Right now, we're waiting on trucks that we ordered in 2021, and only one of them has been built as of last week, and the other 2 are scheduled to be built in July, but there could be a delay. These trucks that we're ordering this year out of the 2022 budget would not be seen probably until late next year, if not 2024. And that's just the situation we're in.
Okay, we should go ahead with our normal
I would highly recommend to go ahead with a resolution for this because again, we're securing our place in line
Right,
to order these trucks.
holding our place in line. All right, you've heard the resolution. It's been a motion made and seconded. You've heard an explanation, trucks are hard to find, they're hard to get. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. A resolution approving the elimination of parts clerk position, might as well stay up there, Josh, and position reclassification of the shop foreman and increased hours of the office clerk. Ms. Hagee.
This is resolution. This is resolution number 22-55. Now therefore be it resolved that the recommendations above are adopted by the board, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective at the start of the first pay period immediately following its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee as of 7 June 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? This is Rudersdorf, seconded by Mr. Cooey. Josh, want to help us through this?
Yeah, sure. So what I did was I looked at a way to make the highway department a little more efficient and save money. Now, with the retirement of Glenn Niemeyer, our current parts clerk, who is retiring as of July 7th, what I did was I looked at what we could do with the shop. Now, the shop foreman and the parts clerk often work hand in hand, ordering the parts, managing parts. So to save a little money with Glenn's retirement, the parts clerk position would go away. So I reached out to Carls and Detman, told them kind of what I was thinking. So what we're looking at doing is absorbing half of the workload onto the shop foreman, making him a shop superintendent underneath a salaried wage. And then he'll absorb half that responsibility, and the other half, which is more of the paperwork, paying bills, would transfer over to our office clerk by raising her up to 40 hours. And that way it would provide us with a $54,000, give or take a couple bucks each direction, savings per year.
Okay, thank you. Did you hear that? A $54,000 saving by making these changes. Okay, we have a motion and a second, I believe.
Discussion.
Yes, Mr. C.
Just a quick question, Josh. And then I presume this has happened, but I'm not a member of the Personnel and Finance Committee. Did you submit an updated job description for approval to the Finance and Personnel Committee?
No, not an updated job description.
But there is a new set of duties and responsibilities.
Yes, which was provided by Carls and Detman, says adding 2 things to the current job description.
I see. Just, guess it's not that important, but I thought there was a policy that whenever there was a position change or an upgrade, that we reviewed the new job description at the Personnel and Finance Committee level. Am I incorrect in that?
Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. Murphy Lopez.
We changed that policy so that the administrator approves job descriptions now. The Finance and Personnel Committee doesn't. That change was made about 1.5 years ago, I believe.
Okay,
My memory fades.
all those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. A resolution approving the purchase of a high-capacity brine maker and installation by the Highway Department. Ms. Hagee.
This is resolution number 22-56. Be it further resolved that the funds for this purchase will be 100% reimbursed from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. This resolution was offered by the Highway Committee on 13 April 2022, and this resolution was taken to the Oversight Committee prior to reorganization.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. Turk. like a no-brainer. State's gonna pay for it. Mr. McKee. That's the stuff they put on the road in the wintertime.
So a brine maker, it's just a combination of salt and water. And it's just a system, it's basically a machine that takes the water and salt, mixes it together, and that's your byproduct. Currently, right now, our brine maker we have produces about 1,500 to 2,000 gallons per hour. This new high capacity will be basically a hands-free automated system that'll produce 4,000 gallons per hour. About a handful of our trucks, I'd say 6 to 7 in total, have capabilities of spraying brine, but as we continue moving forward, every truck will be equipped with brine because it helps break into hard pack on the roads and pre-treat the roads in a snowstorm event.
Mr. Chair,
So, yes. Listen,
isn't it better for the environment when you put less salt on the road?
can't hear you. Can you speak?
Isn't
in the
it
mic?
better for the environment when you use the brine, that it's less salt on the roads?
It's actually about 20% less salt is what you use.
And you can put it on earlier and it activates when the moisture comes, so.
Correct.
Mr. Severson,
Commissioner Elder, is that those lines that I see on the highway?
That is the lines you see on the highway.
During the winter time, they look like they're wet and they're go for a long ways.
they're,
That's the brine.
they're magic, and then when it snows and they get wet and melt. Okay, you've heard the resolution. What is your pleasure? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Number 16, a resolution approving contract negotiations with radio vendors. Ms. Hagee.
This is resolution number 22-57. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the county to enter into contract negotiations with the above listed vendors. If negotiations are unsuccessful with the top ranked vendor, the county may negotiate with the second ranked vendor. Be it further resolved that Administrator Clinton Langrick is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county a contract in accordance with this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Public Safety Standing Committee on 3 June 2022.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Sluck makes the motion. Do I have a second? Ms. Fleming will second. And this is ongoing work in progress toward the radio tower communication system. Any questions? Any comments? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Okay, a resolution approving the Sheriff's Department applying for and accepting a summer traffic control grant from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. Ms. Hagee.
This would be resolution number 22-58. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Sheriff's Department to apply for and accept a grant of up to $10,000 from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for summer traffic control purposes. And be it further resolved that the grant funds must be utilized between June 1st of 2022 and August 31st of 2022. And the agencies participating in the grant will be the Sheriff's Department, the Richland Center Police Department, the Viola Police Department, and the Lone Rock Police Department, with the Sheriff's Department acting as Traffic Task Force Coordinator. Be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant, and the county administrator is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county any documents needed to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Public Safety Standing Committee 13 May 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mrs. Glassbrenner? Mrs. Luck seconds. I see Sheriff Porter standing back there. He's itching to make a comment, so we'll let him. Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it when department heads come forward.
So this is our annual traffic grant. We've participated in this for a number of years now. It's a matching grant. We match with our overtime participation. And then they refund us our overtime costs for the deployments. So in the end, we get our money back, but our deputies make overtime. Worked out pretty well. There actually is, I don't know, it's worth mentioning, potential for more than $10,000. Right now, that's what they awarded us, but speaking with the grant coordinator from Bureau of Transportation Safety, he said there is more money available and we could possibly see more money come our way.
Okay,
Question.
so no speeding, Mr. Seep, during these summer months or anytime. Yes, sir.
Question. I don't drive, so this question is not for me. Which highways are covered by this? All of them?
So the target areas are state highways, and actually they've gotten a little bit more specific even than that this year. They want us to use crash analytics and stuff like that, predictive analytics to target our areas further down to high crash areas.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Luck.
do we want to potentially amend this to a higher amount so that they would be allowed to accept a larger grant, or how? Chair Porter, do you have any idea of what the amount would be if it was more?
I really don't know. We've had, I think the first year we did this grant, we received upwards of $60,000, and it's kind of tapered down each year we've participated. So it's hard to say. I was told that BOTS is flush with money from federal grants, so they're looking to spend it.
So just to be clear, in order for him to accept more money, we'd have to come back to the board for the additional funds above 10,000, correct?
Is there a dollar amount in this request?
Yeah, it says up to $10,000.
On the wrong one.
I'd make a motion to amend to $50,000 instead of 10,000 so that doesn't have to happen.
Up to 50,000, you're amending?
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion to amend, second,
Yes, second.
and change that wording instead of up to 10, up to 50,000. And we'll vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, so we have the amended resolution now and allowing them to request a grant up to 50,000. All those in favor of the amended resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. The resolution is adopted. Thank you. Number 18, a resolution approving a construction agreement for the construction of a solar array. Ms. Heggie.
This is resolution number 22-59. Now therefore be it resolved that PVCV be granted approval to enter into a construction agreement with Solar Connection, Inc. from Onalaska, Wisconsin, for an amount of $296,153, and to pay Legacy Solar Co-op from Madison, Wisconsin, $6,253 for their technical assistance. And be it further resolved that this resolution be effective on its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personal Standing Committee, 21 June 2022.
Yes, we just talked about it. Thank you. Although you've heard the resolution, what's your pleasure? Mr. Renish, seconded by Mr. McKee. And as part of our discussion, Tom Rislow, the director of Pine Valley Community Village, is in the back. and he's just itching to take us through this. Tell us all the virtues and how much money we're gonna save, how green it is, all good. Grab a mic, Tom.
Testing 1, 2, okay. What would you like to know, Chairman Brewer?
Did you ask a question? I didn't
What,
understand.
you want me to share what I shared at the Finance Committee?
Yeah, would you please?
Well, we think this project makes sense. It's good for the environment. It's a good complement to our geothermal system. It would provide 17% of our annual energy needs, save us over $17,000 a year in our electrical bill. At this time, there's grants available exceeding $90,000, and we have 2 local donors giving each $50,000, that's another $100,000. So over half the project is covered between grants and donations. We have the funds at Pine Valley to cover the rest of the total cost. No funds would be happen to be borrowed. No land would have to be purchased or rented for this project. We would be giving consideration during the engineering phase of a possible expansion of the array at some point in the future. Seems like a good purpose for the use of our existing capital funds. And it would provide a good return on investment, paying for itself in just over 9 years. And we give a shout out to people that had the forethought years ago when the original campus, the new campus was being developed. Glenn and Mary Schnadd, back in 2014, funded a solar study to see if it was possible to include that in the new campus. Tom Crofton put in a lot of time and energy in that project at that time, hoping that solar could be a part of the project. It didn't happen, but give a shout out to them. I hope they're able to appreciate what's being considered now. A shout out to Legacy Solar staff for their assistance in this and for Solar for Good, who will provide 150 solar panels for free. Focus on Energy would provide over $42,000 in grant money. And a particular thank you to Ray Schmitz and Bob Simpson, each pledging $50,000. Corporate Counsel has looked over numerous documents I've sent his way for review, and I thank the Pine Valley trustees as well.
Okay. And I'm sure you just heard Tom say that the 2 donors donated 50,000 apiece, Ray Schmitz, Bob Simpson. And at first they were going to finance this thing. And I guess that's how most of these things are done. They finance and then get paid back. Certain percentage each year they earn on their money. They looked at it and felt that it was much too complicated. It really didn't benefit the county the way that they saw it. Why don't we just give you the money through a grant, which they did. So that's much appreciated.
And the array will be located between sewage lift station and a cemetery.
Yep. If you go out to Pine Valley Village, you can see where the farmer has not planted corn there this year. That's where the array will be. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Mr. McGuire?
Yes, it's a very simple explanation of the system, but my question is this simply a generator system, or is there a battery backup to it? In other words, it generates when the sun is shining, but what happens to it where does it store its electricity, and how does that help the geothermal system that's already installed?
Hey, did you get that question, Tom?
Sure. Kurt Reinhold from Legacy Solar is on the line. He could answer as well. The system was designed not to produce energy over our minimal demand. Maybe Kurt could explain that a little bit better than me. We didn't want to have to give energy back to Alliant and then get it back at a reduced rate. Batteries are expensive. There was no grants available for a battery at this time, so that was another reason we didn't go that way. Kurt, do you have more to offer? Kurt Reinhold, president of Legacy Solar.
So is Kurt on the line to speak to this?
He is, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Looks like he's trying to speak, but you're not coming in if you can hear us, sir.
Okay.
Unless in my limited capacity, I sort of addressed the supervisor's question. We did look at it.
Mr.
Is that
McKee,
better?
yes, we have you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. So, yeah, so this solar array, as it was designed before the RFP, was taking into account the cost savings of, using the electricity on site. If there ever was a time in which it would not be used on site, it would be credited back to Pine Valley as it would be exported to Alliant Energy. But we basically kept the size of the array at 180 kilowatts in order to maximize the amount of solar electricity that would be used behind the meter. So during the day, weekday, weekend, it'll help, use some of those kilowatt hours for the geothermal. But at night, obviously, you would still rely on Alliant Energy. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it is less
Question was
expensive to do it that way.
Why no batteries?
Why no battery? Like Tom mentioned, batteries are very expensive. You really are not going to get a return on your investment for a battery unless you have a significant grant. And there may be an opportunity to add a battery in the future when a grant comes into play. But for right now, we designed the system to be all of the electricity to basically be used behind the meter.
Okay, thank you. Answer it, Dan. Okay. Mr. McKee?
After 9 years, this solar array will be paid for, so anytime after that, it's free electricity. The panels are normally guaranteed for 25 years plus, I think. And the inverters are normally guaranteed for 20 years. So there'll be very little investment after that. So after 9 years, it's just free electricity.
Thank you. Okay, comments? Not, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the solar array at Pine Valley signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion, resolution is adopted. Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for all your work on this. A resolution to approve an increase in the on-call compensatory time reimbursement rate and to revise the Health and Human Services addendum to the Richland County Employee Handbook of Personnel Policy and Work Rules. Ms. Hagee.
This is a resolution number 22-60. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to approve an increase in the on-call compensatory time reimbursement rate, and be it further resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to amend page 7, subsection 9, entitled compensatory time under the section entitled on-call compensatory time as follows. On-call compensatory time, Health and Human Services staff serving as emergency on-call personnel shall earn compensatory time as follows. On-call pay of $2 per hour will be earned for on-call duty. On-call holiday pay of $2.50 per hour will be earned for on-call holiday duty. Holiday duty shall include the county paid holiday as well as the actual calendar holiday if it falls on a separate day. And be it further resolved that the updated version of the Department of Health and Human Services addendum to the Handbook of Personnel Policies and Work Rules, which is on file in the County Administrator's Office and which is accessible in the county's website, is hereby approved. And be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective the first pay period after its passage. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 7 June of 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Seeb. Do we have a second? Mrs. Glassbrenner seconds. And I see Roxanne is back there. Speak to this.
Good evening. So our on-call pay has not changed since prior to 2012. Our children and youth services staff members are on call every night after work. They're on call overnight. So they're compensated for their on-call right now at that lower rate. This is really a huge recruitment and retention boost for us if we're able to do this. They're pulled away from their families and just their normal everyday lives, where normally most of us go home from work every night. They're continuing to work through the night. So, and they often get called out in the middle of the night as well. So this would be a way to increase that pay for them. It's not much, but it is something that we could do for them.
Any other comments or questions? Yes. Speak into the mic, please, Julie. I'm sorry. People online can't hear you.
What is the current rate?
The current rate is $1.25 per hour. On normal days, on holidays, it's $1.50 an hour.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, may I speak?
you may.
I just wanted to mention, I did vote against this, and I'm gonna vote against it tonight. Again, I know it's mostly just symbolic, but I think for efficiency purpose and for fairness purposes, it'd be best if all departments were included in a pay raise. I know that this department, I know these people, I've worked with some of these people in the past, in our personal lives, and I know that they deserve the pay raise, but I just wish that we could handle it all at once instead of department by department. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I respond?
Yes, go ahead.
So we looked at this very carefully, and so in order for it to fit into our budget, this is what they came up with. So there would be no additional tax levy or support from the county needed.
Okay. All right. Are you ready to vote on the resolution? Increasing the on-call pay in certain areas of HHS. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
The resolution is adopted. A resolution to approve the use of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds set aside in public health to hire a consultant to assist with the development of the Community Health Needs Assessment, CHNA, Community Health Improvement Plan, CHIP. Ms. Hagee.
This will be resolution number 22-61. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted to approve the use of up to $41,000 in ARPA funds allocated to public health to contract with the Wisconsin Community Health Alliance LLC, spearhead the required CHNA/CHIP project. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 7 June of 2022.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Carroll makes the motion, seconded by Mrs. Ruderstorff. And Roxanne is at the mic.
Okay, so this is for our 5-year community health needs assessment that needs to be done, as was stated. So our public health right now, they don't have the bandwidth to do this on top of their normal duties plus COVID as well. I believe it was $41,000 that has been set aside of ARPA funds to pay for this project. The consultant will work closely with our public health department as well to make sure that they're creating a comprehensive plan. I know that there had been a question in the finance and personnel as far as payment. Our public health officer, Rose Cahoot, did reach out to Dorothy Cheney, and it would be 1/3 upfront, as she had stated, 1/3 after half of the project was completed, and then 1/3 of the cost would be paid upon completion. It would be Dorothy Cheney from this organization, and plus she does have staff that would be helping as well. The entire project will take about 9 months to complete. So it'll be $41,000 over the next 9 months. It is a 5-year comprehensive plan. So if we break that out, it works out to about $8,000 per year for her services.
Yeah, and that has to be done. I mean.
It has to be done. It is.
Yes, so. Things are lining up here because of, we have the ARPA funds, so. Okay, ready to vote. All those in favor of using ARPA funds to do this required study, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Roxanne. Let's see, you have one more thing here though, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. The resolution approving an amendment to 1/2022 contract for the Department of Health and Human Services. And Ms. Hagee, could you read that, please?
This would be resolution number 22-62. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the following amendment to the following 2022 contract with Shea Rehabilitation and Psychological Services, Inc., DBA Kickapoo Counseling of Westby, with the original contract being for $100,000, amended to $300,000 due to an increased need for counseling services provided to Comprehensive Community Services, CCS, consumers by being served by the Behavioral Health Services Unit. Be it further resolved that Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee is hereby authorized to amend the above contracts by not more than 15%. And be it further resolved that the interim director of Health and Human Services Board is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts on behalf of the county in accordance with this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee, 12 May of 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mrs. Rudersdorf makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mrs. Glassman seconds.
So this is a big jump in a contract. We have been using this provider more frequently. The one thing I guess to note here is that this is reimbursable through our comprehensive community services. So there is not any tax levy in this. It would be something that's reimbursed by Medicaid.
And this is a situation where you set up these contracts, you make an estimate of what you're gonna spend, and then during the course of events, it looks like you're going to exceed. So then you have to restructure, not necessarily going to spend that amount, but you have to redo the contract, so.
Correct.
Okay, heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Roxanne. I think that's it for you. A resolution approving a change order to repair the courthouse roof. Ms. Hagee.
This is resolution number 22-63. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby given for a change order to the bid of Interstate Roofing and Waterproofing, Inc. of Onalaska, Wisconsin, in the following amount of $72,200 for necessary resurfacing and patching. Be it further resolved that funding for the project shall be covered through American Rescue Borrowing Funds. And be it further resolved that the county administrator shall have authority to enter into any necessary contract amendments with Interstate Roofing and Waterproofing, Inc. of Onalaska, Wisconsin, and has authorized of up to $5,000 in contingency expenses for the project. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution is offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee, 7 June of 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Carroll? Second? Ms. Fleming, seconds. And, I don't know, Clint, do you want to say anything here?
Interstate did a fine job of completing your historic
Great,
roof
wonderful job.
that you'd be able to see. While we had them on site, they took a look at these, the flat surface over top of the causeway. And then there's the flat section over the, kind of where the new addition in the jail is, that flat surface. We've experienced several different leaks in those areas that in the last few months have really kind of exacerbated. We cleared this with Corporation Counsel that this in fact qualifies as a change order on an existing bid and project that we have in place. So we're able to move forward that without going through a respec and rebid type of a process. So it looks like it's good. We had a good relationship with Malley, and we'd like to stop the leaks that you'll see most often in the clerk's office, in Mike Bendel's office, and over the elevator in the causeway section.
Okay. So we're gonna fix the leaks.
Question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Seep.
So
Mr. Seep's got the floor right now.
Mr. Chairman, these particular areas for this amendment were not areas that were part of the original contract. Is that my understanding correct?
Mr. Langrick, can you answer that?
That is correct. The original contract was for the pitched roof over the historic section.
Yes. Okay, so it was just by further exploration that we found these additional problems in another area.
The problems have escalated over in the last year, and it's taken us a full year to complete the roof project from when we initially released our request for proposals or our bids.
Mr. McGuire?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the amount of the change order was $72,200, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, this is for unseen damage before the project started, correct?
The 72,200 is going to change and resurface all the flat areas over the causeway and then over the new addition over the jail area.
Okay, was there engineering fees involved in this?
No, we'll have fees though that'll be associated with our consultant, Russ Moens, who's also associated with working with us with MAP. But there is no other types of engineering fees outside of Interstate, and then the additional informations we'll have through the additional fees we'll have through our consultant, Russ Moens.
Okay, I don't know if I understood that, but there is no engineering fees involved with this change order? Is that what you just said? I'm not hearing you well with that mask on.
There's the fees are going to be for the resurfacing through Interstate, and then we'll have additional fees through strategic roofing, or I'm sorry, strategic engineering group, who is our consultant, Mr. Russ Moens.
Okay, what is the percentages of the fees of the architect to authorize these change orders? That's what I'm getting at. What did we have to pay for the engineering fees for this change?
There's no engineer work. They're just taking off the rubber surface off of the roof and putting on a new rubber type of surface. So they're not doing any type of structural changes to any of the suspensions or supports or anything of that nature.
Okay, all right.
At least we hope not. They're gonna be taking it off and hopefully we don't have significant damage like that requires it.
Mr. Renish?
Clint, after the work that was done on the new shingles and adding this to it, will that pretty much be an all-new roof now, except for obviously over the jail that's metal?
So over the jailhouse that is metal will be the only place that's left, and I don't think that was changed during the hail damage. I do know that over the sheriff's department that was recently changed, I think in 2018 or 2019 when we had the hail damage coming through. So yes, we'll have hopefully a sealed up roof over the entire courthouse complex.
Basically the entire building.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Turk?
I just want to clarify, it says the funding is coming from American Rescue Borrowing Funds.
That is a typo on my end. That should be American Rescue Plan Act funds.
We'll
Thank you.
accept that as a typo. So
Thank you.
change that. Change that, everybody, on your, put white out on your screen and then change it. Okay. All right, now we're gonna have all the roofs. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right, the resolution is adopted. Okay. A resolution adopting amendments to the Richland County Body Structure Document. Ms. Heggie?
Resolution number 22-64. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the Richland County the Richland County Body Structure Document is amended reflecting proposed changes to the Court Security Committee, Public Safety Standing Committee, Public Works Standing Committee, and Fair Recycling and Park Standing Committee. And be it further resolved that a copy of the body structure document shall be made available in the Richland County Administrator's Office and on the Richland County website. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee to June 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? This is a catch-up. Mr. Turk? Second by Mr. Manning. Saw you move your hand. So, I think, as I said, this is stuff we should have done a while ago, and now we're catching up with it. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is something that Clerk of Court Price brought to us. We did not have the Court Security Committee in our structure document before or after the reorganization, and she did some research with the state Supreme Court rules to find out what the county was required to do, and the new judge will be convening the Court Security Committee. So then the changes to the other committees are just to remove that responsibility from those committees and giving that responsibility to the Court Security Committee. And then the Fair Recycling Parks and Standing Committee change, that was just a catch up. That was an error that was missed during the reorg regarding financial monitoring.
Okay. All right. We've heard the resolution and the explanation. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. A resolution adopting amendments to the Richland County Policy and Authority of Management, roles of members and chairs of committees, boards, and commissions. Ms. Hagee, please.
This is resolution number 22-65. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the Richland County Policy on Authority of Management, roles of members and chairs of committees, boards, and commissions is amended to reflect proposed changes in policy title and added membership duties to the county board chair. And be it further resolved that a copy of the policy shall be made available in the Richland County Administrator's Office and on the Richland County website. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution was offered by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee to June of 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McGee? Do we have a second? Mr. Cooey, seconds. And can someone explain this one?
Mr. Chair, it was brought to my attention that a policy named Authority of Management Rules of the Members and Chairs of Committees, Boards, and Commissions was a terrible policy name. It's recommended that we change that name to Defining County Leadership Roles. Furthermore, it adds additional duties to the county board chair position that includes the chair will represent the county as a member on the following governmental bodies: the Southwest Wisconsin Workforce Development Board, the Tax Incremental District Review Boards, and then local area technical colleges, board appointment committees for Western Technical College, Southwest Wisconsin Technical College, and Madison Area Technical College. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, some more duties for the chair. All those in favor, now signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Resolution is adopted. A resolution adopting amendments to the Richland County Policy Establishment Policy. Ms. Hagee.
Resolution number 22-66. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the Richland County Board Policy Establishment is amended to reflect proposed changes to the policy purpose, authorities of committees, board, and responsibilities of the policy custodians, and be it further resolved that a copy of the policy shall be made available in the Richland County Administrator's Office and on the Richland County website. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee to June of 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Thank you, Mr. Rennish. Do we have a second, Mr. Manning? Anyone need further explanation? Mr. C.
Yes, I'm sorry, I wasn't at that last Rules Committee. What problem are we solving with this resolution?
I'll refer to Vice Chair Murphy Lopez, who pointing feverishly at Administrator Langren. Perhaps Administrator Langren can handle that one.
So, Mr. Chair, this is going to be a policy that's going to establish the expenditures of our ARPA funds, which is approximately $3.35 million that was, which one am I at? Hold on a second.
Wrong one.
Which one are we doing?
2266.
2266, apology, one ahead of us here. Our changes, this one. So our proposal policy, I'm going to pull it up here, 25A that you'll see in your packet includes several different changes. One of the big ones coming first and foremost with a purpose. So part of the purpose language that we're changing is to establish authority of approval, amendments, and interpretation, and to designate dissemination responsibilities of the policy. Right now, our policy on policy kind of requires that all policy changes of the county are brought forward to the county board for changes. This change in this language would allow your supervisory or your what do we call it, the sponsoring committee to be able to make changes provided that it still falls within that purpose language. So if we want to change things in our say like a handbook type of a policy, you could designate that to a finance and personnel to take action on those types of elements. If you have like our policy that we also have here tonight with the courthouse operations, to designate that policy to allow your Public Works Committee to be the authority to change those types of policies. So provided that the language doesn't, the changes in the policies don't go past the purpose language, you're going to be designating then your oversight committees the ability to change those policies. It also then has additional language in here that is tasking your custodians with the additional tasks of being responsible for properly posting and disseminating the policy changes, responsible for administrative interpretation of the policy, and conferring with the administrator and corporation counsel if issues arise. They're also allowed to make non-substantial type changes if there's such things as like typos or formattings or name changes of people that you might be referring to, et cetera. And then the custodian shall review and approve all administrative procedures that support the policy. So if a supervisory committee, say your public works, is putting in your building policy and you telling you what should be done and why it should be done, different procedural types of things, then like how we're going to do elevator maintenance, your custodian would be your authority of establishing then what those procedures would look like. So those are some of the big significant changes with this. It was talked about in some length at rules and strategic planning, but was brought forward with those same type of concerns on how comfortable are we allowing our sponsoring committees the ability to change policy. And I would say that as long as they're doing a good job then of sharing information and ensuring a custodian is making sure that the masses know that that's the policy change, then I would be in favor of this. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So it's streamlining the way we do things. Don't ask me to repeat it. Further questions or comments? Ms. Gillespie?
Hello? I guess I would like to see it be a little bit more specific in its language as far as Administrator Langreich, you mentioned making sure that the masses know. I guess I would like to see that be more specific, that it is at least being on an informational basis to the county board when changes are made. I'm not entirely sure the best way to amend the policy in order to reflect that. But I don't think right now it's not specific as to who we're letting know changes are made.
I read it, I thought it's kind of up to the guy on the end of the table here. As long as we think he's doing a good job, and he's keeping us apprised, I think that's part and parcel of this.
So you're stating that you don't believe that it needs to be stated to disseminate that to.
Well, I don't, at first blush, I don't think so. Now, it may come to pass that I change my mind.
Well, I guess then I have a question, because when it says custodian, so if we're saying that the sponsoring boards and committees could potentially make changes, is the custodian always going to be you, Administrator Langreich?
No, in the policy format that this also establishes, you would potentially have different custodians for a policy. If you have one for Pine Valley, it's presumably the administrator out there. If you have one specific to a parks operations or specific to Simon Center or something of that nature, it's going to be presumably somebody other than myself.
So I guess in that sense, again, then I think perhaps it should be a bit more. I guess then I would make a motion to amend where it says under section D, the custodian shall be responsible for properly posting and disseminating policy and changes. To amend that to state, including the county board.
So you're adding the word including the county board? Okay.
I would second that, Mr. Chair.
Did you capture that?
Mr. Chairman.
Just a minute, let's receive. Miranda, did you capture the change wording?
I've got it, Mr. Chair.
You've got it, Lynn?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I had a motion and a second to add those words. So we'll vote on the
Discussion.
Yes, Mr. C, discussion.
A definition of custodian. Is the government body, for example, the Public Safety Committee, whatever other committees are associated with it, is that a government body? Is that therefore the custodian of policies related to that body's work? What do we mean by custodian?
In the policy body itself, if you look at page 2 of 6, in section 7C, Roman numeral 4 would say custodian states a position of employment who is responsible to review and or update the policy when needed, post and disseminate changes, and provide administrative interpretation on the policy. So for this purposes, it's an employed position of staff that you're putting in there to be responsible for the different actions associated with being the policy custodian. Does that answer your question, Supervisor Seat?
No. So we're talking about policy, and the county board members and the committee members are apparently responsible for making policy decisions, or approving policy rather. So I'm just confused. If we're going to have a policy discussion and make a decision about it, apparently it would be made in some cases by the oversight committee. In other cases, it might be made by the administrator or some other, or the county board itself. So in which cases would a government body, such as one of these new committees, be the decider, as George Bush says, the decider of policy, and therefore the custodian?
Well, those are two different things. You'd have a
All right.
you'd have a sponsoring committee that is in charge of the policy, is the policy setter for that policy, and then has the authority to change that policy within the scope of the purpose language. Your custodian then is your day-to-day operator, your staff person that's on the ground that is tasked with administrative interpretation of that policy. If there's a debate on what it should say, then we would be taking it to that sponsoring committee to decide on what it should be saying, or to make changes to further define exactly what the policy is to clarify interpretations in the future. There's also language then that says is if that sponsoring committee is uncomfortable with it or feels that it should go to the county board, as desired by a simple majority vote of the sponsoring committee, it can be taken to the board.
Is the sponsoring committee the same entity as the oversight body? Is that one and the same?
Yes, it is. It's a sponsoring board or commission that is tasked with being the authority, if you will, on that policy. So in this case, for your policy establishment, the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee is designated with that. The administrator is the custodian then, the staff in charge of handling the custodial tasks.
There's a little spaghetti here in this process, but I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Severson.
Mr. Chairman, would a custodian be for a standing committee? Could that be 4 people?
Point of order,
5
Mr.
people, a
Chair.
custodian?
Could it be what?
4 or 5 people be a custodian for that standing committee?
No, we have language that it would be identifying one person position as the custodian for that policy. So the idea is visualize as being like a department head.
Okay, so I'll look at the Public Safety Committee, for example. We have the Sheriff's Department, the Clerk of Court, Horn, Probate. So is it the standing committee then that's going to be the custodian, do you recommend? Or would it be somebody in the Sheriff's Department being the custodian for the Clerk of Court's office on policy?
I would recommend you have one staff person, and if you have a policy that's reaching over, like you're saying, like with multiple 3 or 4 different departments, to establish still one person as the custodian for that to interpret it. If you have troubles then on, what it's supposed to say, or there's conflict on 2 different elected officials that are not getting along with interpreting it, then it would go back to that sponsoring committee then to clarify.
Mr. Chair. We have an amendment before us. This discussion has all been about the policy as a whole.
True. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, we do have the amendment, and that was to include the words county board, I think. It was so long ago, I can't remember.
So on changes on page 4 to 6, under section D, Roman numeral 3, I think, triple I.
Okay. All right, let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? All right, the amendment carries. Now we have the amended resolution to the Richland County Policy Establishment Policy. And if you're all ready to vote on that, I'll call for a vote. All those in, yes, Carol.
Yeah, sorry. This is hard for me to follow, but I'm getting the impression there's gonna need to be some kind of a listing of all custodians for all policies in order to know who's custodian for which.
A listing, did you say? Be a listing?
Some way to know who's the custodian for each policy.
I didn't see any mention of a listing in there, Mr. Langrick.
So in our policy format that we're establishing on the very top page on the top, it should capture who the custodian is, which is the intent also, is to capture a policy format which has this information on the very top. As
You're
far as,
saying each time a policy is generated in that policy document, it will state who the custodian is,
that is the intent, yes.
an individual.
Well, a position,
Okay.
an administrator.
That's why I wanted to know. Thank
Department.
you.
Yep.
I'm sorry that I have, my vision is a little deterred here. But do I understand that the duties, responsibilities, and authorities of the custodian are defined?
Yes, your duties for your custodian are defined on section, on page 4 of 6, if you look under section, what is D, section 8D, it has each policy shall be assigned a custodian designated with the following administrative authorities and responsibilities, and then list those out, Supervisor Seat.
So would you mind citing an example, just academically here, of a policy matter that would be dealt with by whichever body would be relevant, and what the process would be? Can you give us an example?
Of updating a policy? I'm sorry, what was your question again?
Of how a policy question that would go to a custodian of a particular committee. Could you give us an example of that, how that would work?
So if you reference a policy, say a building policy, and we want to talk about having taxidermy displays on a wall, and we have perhaps a disagreement on what constitutes taxidermy type of display, and we're talking about that in a building policy, then if there were 2 employees were at a disagreement, or 2 departments, they would take it to the custodian and say, custodian, what is your interpretation of this and how do you feel that it's there? If that satisfies it, it satisfies it. If it does not, and we still think that we're in conflict, then we'd be taking it to the Public Works Committee to say, this is the policy language. Can you help us clarify what the intentions are, and possibly can we further define it? Is that, I know it's an anecdotal on, or a hypothetical on trying to sort that out, but that would be the intent of how that relationship would work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. McGuire?
I feel that the appropriate.
Roll call? Sure. Anyone objects to roll call, but we will. Mr. Reddish?
Mr. Chair, I think everybody's concerned about the board is giving up some authority of creating, dictating policy. And it doesn't seem to me that we are. It's just that custodians, or I would like to call them the employees, it gives them an avenue of where to send policy dispute. That would go to a subcommittee and then eventually to the full board if that committee can't understand it. So we're not really giving up any authority on policy. Just it makes a map for people to follow.
Provides an avenue. Okay,
If I'm wrong, Mr. Administrator, let me know.
No, you're on point. I mean, I have to say though, that your language under here would say your sponsoring committee, boards, or commission that states which Richland County Committee, Board, Commission is delegated with jurisdiction authority to make amendments to the policy or to defer to the county board when such changes are determined to be beyond the purpose of the original policy or beyond the authority of the sponsoring committee, board, or commission, or is desired by a simple majority vote of the sponsoring committee, board, or commission. So if it's past the authority of you as a group of what it says in your structure document, it goes back to the county board. If you're just not comfortable with it, it goes to the county board. And if it's outside of the purpose of that policy, again, and that's up in the top section of established, what is the purpose of the policy? If we're talking about a building policy and you're trying to give your administrator a pay raise increase through your building policy, then we've probably got some problems there and we have to, take that back through. Now, all policies, though, are still approved by this body. It's just then after you folks are blessing on it, like the building policy that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, after you're blessing on it, then it becomes a directive of your Public Works Committee then to monitor and make changes again within the scope of that purpose language. Does that answer your question, Supervisor Reinish?
Mr. Chair,
yes.
If I could attempt to summarize, we're giving more power to committees here. Because once a policy gets adopted by the county board, then the committee can change the policy. So an example would be in this building policy that's later on in the agenda, there's within here, it says that no pets are allowed, but service animals are in the government services building. So if we adopt this policy and then at a later date, the Public Works Standing Committee decides we are going to allow pets, that's, if we adopt this tonight, that's within their purview to do that. But with this amendment, they would have to notify the entire county board. So I just want everyone to be clear that it's not just interpretation. I think that is a situation that Mr. Reinish was bringing up, but it's also actually establishing policy. So we're giving some more of that authority to committees if we do this.
So we voted on the amendment, I believe, have we not? Okay. So, Miranda, are you prepared to call the roll?
Yes.
We will do it by roll call then, because it's been requested. So, an aye is in favor, a no is not. So Miranda, if you would, please.
Luck. Manning. Gotchel. Glassbrenner. Rudersdorf. Gentis.
Aye.
Turk.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Frank. Severson.
No.
Williamson. Cooey. Fleming. Boyce.
Aye.
McGuire. Caro.
Aye.
Murphy Lopez.
Aye.
Brewer.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
McKee. Reinish.
Okay, the resolution is adopted. My count, I only heard one no.
There were 17 aye. Wait.
Okay. A resolution establishing a policy for the expenditure of remaining funds from the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Ms. Agee.
Sorry. Just to clarify, we were on number 26, correct? We were on
Yep, that is
26.
correct.
I'm sorry, I
Yep.
was.
Number 26.
All right, this is resolution number 22-67. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, established under the American Rescue Plan Act and referred to as ARPA funds, policy is hereby adopted. And be it further resolved that a copy of the policy shall be made available in the Richland County Administrator's Office and on the Richland County website. And be it further resolved that expenditures related to rule number 14 regarding equipment purchase and contract expenditures are approved by the adoption of this policy, as long as the expenditure is used on the desired purpose by resolution and within a portented amount authorized by the policy or amended by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Additional resolution is not required by the county board, and be it further resolved that expenditures qualifying as public works projects as defined through the County Board Rule 14 and Wisconsin State Statute 59.5229 will return for resolution by the county board to ensure compliance. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee, 7 June of 2022.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee, and seconded by Mr. Turk. Discussion.
So, Mr. Chair, this policy, like the one we approved last month with Fund 92 and 75, is establishing what the approved expenditure criteria is going to be for the remaining ARPA funds. In looking at the list appendice that you'll see in there for the appropriations, you'll see that it has a column that drops in place of the original appropriations that were established through Finance and Personnel, where we had 10% established towards public health, 10% towards negative economic impacts, 10% towards premium pay for essential workers, 20% for water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, and then we had 50% of it allocated to public sector lost revenue. Since the initial release of the interim guidance, they came out with the final guidance, which further kind of allowed for discretionary use of these funds. The proposal at hand coincides with a conditions report and a financial planning that I'll be delivering to Finance and Personnel tomorrow at 10:30, which secures now nearly about half of it towards operational budgets going into 2022 or 2023 into 2024, and then reappropriates the rest of the expenditures as you see laying out in the column to the right. I'll give you a minute to kind of run your eyes through that. But again, it's recommendation going forward to Finance and Personnel that a large portion of it, nearly half of it, is dedicated towards trying to do our fill gaps over the next 2 years while we prioritize our services and decide what we want to continue doing well and what we're going to have to part with in order to continue doing our other operations well. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You've heard the explanation. It's using ARPA funds, kind of plug the gap. I sure don't have a problem with it, but so if you do, if so, let's hear it. Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? All right. The resolution is adopted and mention was made of a special Finance and Personnel or Finance meeting tomorrow at 10:30 in this room. So I would encourage you to be here because I'm calling it the State of the County address by the administrator. I'm going to lay it all out for us before the budget starts, but it's kind of the first step in budgeting for the next few years. All right. The resolution is adopted. A resolution amending the Richland County Employee Handbook, number 27. Ms. Hagee.
Resolution number 22-68. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that these policy changes are hereby adopted. One, compensation and fringe benefits, bereavement leave, changes regarding qualified family members, compensation and fringe benefits, sick leave, changes regarding increments of time and defining family medical leave, compensation and fringe benefits, military leave, changes regarding paperwork requirements, hiring and employment considerations, hiring for long-term vacancies, A and C, changes regarding authority, miscellaneous personal provisions, 15, changing opportunities, changes regarding out-of-state training. Be it therefore resolved that these amended policies are available at the Richland County Clerk and Administrator Office and will be available on the Richland County website. And be it further resolved that Richland County employees will be made aware of these changes through their department management. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective 21 June 2022. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 7 June of 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Cooey, seconded by Mrs. Ruderstar. A lot of changes here, but, I guess I'll ask Clint to touch on it briefly.
A lot of them had to do with, making sure we're in compliance with our FMLA changes. The one out-of-state, language changes was a previous action by Finance and Personnel where they wanted to make sure that there was involvement from your county administrator on approval of those out-of-state trainings. And that's kind of the gist on most of them.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Question?
Yes, sir, Mr. C.
I'd like to have a little more explanation of the view with regard of the person of the committee and of the administrator with regard to providing out-of-state state training for employees. Over the years that I've been here, there has only been one exception to that, and it has been done outside of our traditional policy. So, what is the view here? What is the problem we're dealing with, and why is this being addressed?
Okay, thank you.
I'm asking the administrator.
Right, and I'm going to refer it to him.
Let me find the changes here in the policy. It's all strike line.
It's been very controversial because we have never allowed employees to go out of state. They have not gone out of state over the years, but somehow somebody jumped the gun without the consent of the county board or the personnel committee. It was controversial because training was available within the state.
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to read the change.
Oh,
Yes, please do.
so I did. Thank you for helping me locate. So it's it says employees will be provided training opportunities to enhance job performance and to advance career opportunities subject to budgetary constraints. The added language then says if local training does not meet requirements, out-of-state travel must be approved in advance by the county administrator through the employee's chain of command. To receive reimbursement, the employee shall submit proof of written approval or emailed approval from the county administrator as obtained through the chain of command for said travel.
Okay.
So under what circumstances would the administrator allow someone to go out of state for training? What would be the conditions?
The conditions by policy would say if local training does not meet requirements.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, you've heard the changes. Are you in favor of this resolution? If so, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? All right, the resolution is adopted. A resolution updating the county's civil rights compliance plan and letter of assurance. Ms. Hagee.
This would be resolution number 22-69. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the updated county civil rights compliance plan and letter of assurance, which covers 2018, 2019, and 2021, which is on file in the Richland County Administrator's Office, is hereby adopted and shall be followed in all respects by all county officers, employees, and departments at all times. And be it further resolved that each county department shall do the following. A, permanently post the documents entitled Equal Opportunity Policy and Limited English Proficiency Policy where they may be viewed by clients and applicants for services. B, comply with the anti-discrimination provisions of the plan in the delivery of services. C, be responsible for distribution of service delivery complaint forms to clients and employees. D, ensure that all employees are aware that any complaints regarding service delivery must go through the county's equal opportunity coordinator, who is currently the county administrator, Clinton Langrick, and that information about the county's discrimination complaint resolution process is available upon request from the county's equal opportunity coordinator. And be it further resolved that the county board chair and the county administrator are hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the county such documents as may be necessary to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that the county administrator shall provide all new employees of the county a copy of the documents entitled Equal Opportunity Policy and Limited English Proficiency Policy. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee on the 2nd of June, 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mrs. Rudersdorf makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mrs. Fleming seconds. Discussion. Yes, Linda Gentis.
It says. They are maintaining.
Yes, we contracted with Southwest Regional Planning. Mr. Matt Horn helped us in putting together all our statistical data and preparing the reports. He also gave us advice on how to help maintain compliance and make it easier for us on our next go-around 3 years from now. We have some revised data gathering types of materials that we've distributed out to departments, and hopefully we're keeping up with those on a more monthly basis versus falling behind and trying to keep up with it on a yearly basis. Does that answer your question, Supervisor Gentis?
So you said 3 years from now, so is there a new contract every year? Or is it, no, I don't remember that contract.
We had them do it last time and had them do it this time. It wasn't like in a retainer refreshing a contract, but as a new contract, we're hoping to be able to keep up with that and be able to execute it on ourselves without using Southwest Regional Planning in 3 years.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the compliance plan resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right, the resolution is adopted. A resolution adopting a government services building facility policy. Ms. Hagee.
This is resolution number 22-70. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors, the Richland County Board Government Services Building Facility Policy is adopted. And be it further resolved that a copy of the policy shall be made available in the Richland County Administrator's Office and on the Richland County website. And be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. The resolution was offered by the Public Works Standing Committee on 9 June of 2022.
Heard the resolution, what's your pleasure? Mr. Cooey, second by Mr. Cosgrove, thank you. Further explanation, Mr. Langrick? No?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's an extensive policy. The purpose of the policy is to establish a set of rules and procedures to safely maintain and protect a valued county facility that provides a safe and secure environment for public engagement and delivery of public services. As we talked about with the previous policy establishment, your administrators, you're established as your custodian for the policy, and your sponsoring committee, board, or commission for this policy is going to be the Public Works Standing Committee. Layout of the different contents is kind of found in pages 4 of the document. You're going to see that it kind of starts off with access and security. It talks about use of the different rooms for meetings. We have key control, building housekeeping, and personnel files areas. It talks about the different display of everything from live plants to perishable foods to alterations to the rooms, furniture and cabinetry. It talks on parking, solicitation, disposable recycling, mail, signage. And then if there's also has to do with unforeseen closures and those types of effects. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, any other concerns or questions? Hearing none?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just one, at the
Absolutely.
top of page 7, there, under section 3, first bullet point, it says that, Richland County Government Center will be offered to all persons of appropriate age, race, color, national origin, sex, or disability on a first come, first served basis. I think you mean regardless of those things, because as it reads now, it kind of makes it sound like you have to be of a certain age or race to be able to use.
Yes, appropriate was supposed to be limited to age, but then obviously it reads across as an adjective for all those other adjectives. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to treat that as a typo or if we need to
Yeah.
amend it, but I think it should maybe say regardless of those things.
Supervisor Carroll actually pointed that out to us in our meeting, and I thought we had it addressed in an upload to put into this, and I apologize that we did not, but
We're gonna handle that as a typo.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think we had that changed.
okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right, we've done it. Okay, number 30, a resolution imploring the state of Wisconsin to increase state shared revenues and state highway aids for Richland County. Ms. Heggie.
Now, oops, I'm sorry. This would be resolution 22-71. Now therefore be it resolved, Richland County implores the state of Wisconsin to increase its state shared revenues and state highway aids to Richland County to ensure funding for the sheriff's, highway, and health and human services departments. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Governor Tony Evers, State Senator Howard Markland, State Assembly Representative Travis Crannell, State Assembly Representative Todd Novak, State Assembly Representative Tony Kurtz, and the Wisconsin Counties Association. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 7 June of 2022.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Cosgrove, seconded by Mr. C.
yes, discussion.
And discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a good idea to have a resolution. I think we have very strong arguments in Richland County that we can present, perhaps integrated with the resolution or in a cover letter, Richland County has taken on the burden of, first of all, it's provided the facilities for the University of Wisconsin branch, and it's taken on the responsibility of maintaining, improving the buildings. It's made significant capital expenditures, many of which have been at taxpayer expense.
Mr. Seif, I'm gonna halt you right there. I think you're addressing the next resolution perhaps, which is a resolution requesting the state of Wisconsin to support UW colleges to where it was supporting them in 2015.
Well, no, that's just one of several challenges that
Okay.
Richland County has met beyond other counties. Pine Valley is another, a new healthcare system at taxpayer expense. We've done it without state aid. And we have upgraded and repaired our courthouse at significant expense, much of which over the years will require further taxpayer support. So I think that we have very strong arguments in favor of appealing to the state for aid to relieve us and to relieve the taxpayers of the burden upon them, especially given the fact that the economy of the county has been significantly hurt by no growth population or in property values.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy Lopez authored this resolution. Do you care to comment, sir?
No, not unless there's any other questions.
I think it's a fine resolution, and I will say that a copy of it, of course, is going to the Wisconsin Counties Association, and hopefully it will be adopted as a plank in their ongoing platform. Mr. Severson.
Mr. Chairman, could a copy of this resolution be given to the Finance Committee, both in the Assembly and the Senate? And also maybe the Ways and Means or the Transportation Committee at the House, so it's just not going to our representatives that represent Richland County, but to the other decision makers that are within the state of Wisconsin.
I see no problem with that. Can we do that? Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
I'm not offering it as an amendment, I just want to know what the body's floor is or the chairman's wishes, I guess.
Well, I'm all for it. But
This goes over the signature of the county board chair.
I would guess at this point, yeah. I'll sign it. Okay, I think it's a good resolution. Let's move it. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. No. Okay, the resolution's adopted. The next resolution then, and I'm sorry, Mr. Seif, I jumped to conclusions on you. I should never do that. Is requesting the state of Wisconsin to support the UW colleges to where it was supporting them in 2015. Ms. Hagee.
Resolution 22-72. Now therefore be it resolved, Richland County implores the state of Wisconsin and the UW system to increase their investment in UWP Richland and the other 12 UW colleges to ensure that a viable educational institute be continued. Therefore, be it resolved that the Richland County Board of Supervisors hereby supports this resolution and that it be sent to the Wisconsin Counties Association, area legislators, governor, and UW Systems president. This resolution was offered by the Education Standing Committee on 13 June of 2022.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Ms. Brenner, seconded by Mr. Cooey. Discussion. Yes, Mr. McGuire.
Yeah, I just briefly. So how are we different today? Is there some sort of broad comparison available?
Well, there's a graph, a series of graphs. Yes.
The enrollment dropped to 200.
Okay, if you look at the graph, in 2015 and 16, the enrollment was 534. And in 2016-17, it was 284. And if you look on there, the first year, it was a drop of 804. I have to go back and read my own resolution, huh? In 2016, they decreased it by $822,641. That was just the 1 year. And then they continued to drop all the, number of, faculty and staff. So you can see the exact correlation. Does that answer your question?
Okay, I can see the comparison as far as the head count is concerned. So this is a financial picture of equity, right?
Well, financial would also improve having staff and faculty.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Severson?
Mr. Chairman, with the proposed maybe 40,000, that's going to be reduced from the from the UW campus levy. That's been being recommended by the administrator. How would this resolution affect those buildings and possibility of this resolution going forward with them wanting to support if we do follow through on these recommendations?
Yeah, yes, good question. It would affect it, yes, in my opinion.
Premature, purely requesting this?
I think it's premature. However, I've handed the gavel here to the vice chairman because I want to speak to this issue. And in my opinion, this may be a resolution, the right resolution, but it's at the wrong time. And the reason that I say that is we're entering in negotiations, discussions with the University of Wisconsin plant bill. And in the oncoming weeks, months, we'll be talking to them about our campus and what should be done with it, what is being done with it, what are their plans for it. They've offered to have a facilities assessment, which is part of the UW system. They've offered to have that accomplished on our campus. That offer was made to me today. Perhaps it's been made to the committee before, but I think that's a darn good idea to get them here. I personally, I wish it were 2015 and we had 500 students. We don't. I don't know if there are 500 students out there to go to the campus. And the same people are competing. The UW plat bill is competing against us for students. The tech school, Southwest Tech, MATC, lacrosse, excuse me, Sean, I can't think of the name. But they're competing. So a finite number of students, they're going elsewhere. And we have a valuable resource there and it's not being utilized. It absolutely is not. We can't run that place for 50 students. Yes, I agree. A lot of the things the UW did brought us to this point, but this resolution isn't going to change that. All it's going to do is kind of beard the lion in its den, you know, to steal a point here, we want to play nice with these people. We want to, including asking them if we can use part of the land for a possible subdivision. We want to ask them, can we sever up some of the buildings? Can we do this with some of the buildings? You don't need all the buildings. Maybe you can concentrate your campus activity perhaps in Melville Hall or a couple of the other buildings. East Hall. Can we do something with that? I had an inquiry today from a former county board member wondering if we were going to rent that. Gee, we'd actually get some income from it. That would be wonderful. So there are all kinds of things out there, and to zap these people right now, telling them that they've done a lousy job, which they certainly have done, in my opinion, it's not the thing to do.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak on this? Let's go with Supervisor Renish and then Supervisor Gentis.
My concern is, you can look at what Richland School District just did by reorganizing and combining and getting rid of buildings. That tells you right there, like the chairman said earlier, the population is declining, it's on a downturn. So I question our one whereas here, where it says, they're not restaffing positions. Well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the students stop coming so they didn't staff positions, which would be, to me, a good business decision? Or did they stop staffing things and then the kids quit coming? Well, I think it's the first one.
Okay, Ms. Gentis, go ahead.
They didn't stop staffing, and then they stopped staffing, and then the kids didn't come. I'm not sure which one you said there. I don't feel that this is a slam against UW-Platteville at all. This is stating to our state and our county, what's happening in all the UW colleges and all the counties that own buildings. We're not just talking about UW-Richland here. We're talking about all the counties, and we're asking the Counties Association to look at this, because it's not just UW-Richland that has had this effect. It's all 13 of them. All of them have been reduced because of losing faculty and staff. Now, this is helpful to UW-Platteville because they would like more money given to them to help. They have said themselves that they've been the poor person being run by the campuses, so they would like the money. This is not against them in any way, shape, or form. This is announcing what it is. The population of the students in the area has gone down, but not nearly amount of what has gone down in our numbers. There's not a correlation between that in the high schools and our numbers. And in addition, they have not had a recruiter that's really been dedicated to this campus since 2015. That is a major factor here, and that's what we're not, we're talking about. So, I agree that it does what Gary said, show if we're not gonna, the buildings, that might show against us. On the other hand, we have said that we want a cultural and educational commitment in this community. Many people moved here because of it, including myself, because I didn't have a job there. But when I came out here, I was going to live in Madison, and I started going to the campus things. Many of the doctors in town came here, and that's what recruited them, was the campus. So you're realizing that it used to be a huge economic benefit to this community, and that's gone down because of other factors. So if we want the economic benefit to come back, if we want to have a cultural center, we have to actually stand up and start having some chutzpah and go out there and ask for it, and not just sit here and say, Okay. I'm done now.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak?
I'd like to add one more thing. Yeah, go ahead. In the resolution, it talks about a liberal arts degree or, in nowhere in the resolution does it talk about technical school training, which I think if this campus is going to survive, it's got to incorporate the technical school. It's ridiculous that Southwest Tech rents buildings on Orange Street, and we've got vacant buildings out at the campus. I mean, come on.
Okay, Mr. Carroll, and then Mr. Turk and Mr. McGuire.
If time is not of the essence, I wondered, based on trying to walk this fine line, maybe the committee could look at the wording and see if we can walk that narrow path of urging some support from the state, but also recognizing that there's other things we have to consider.
Okay, Mr. Turk?
Similar to that, I was actually going to make a motion to postpone consideration of this resolution indefinitely in view of the conversations currently going on and such.
Okay, so that's a motion to postpone indefinitely by Supervisor Turk. Who's the second from? Supervisor Renish? Okay. So any debate on that? Yep, Supervisor Gentis, this is on the motion to postpone.
Okay, yes,
Absolutely.
we can,
That's
we've
in our
just
county
gone
board.
through this. One of the reasons not to postpone it, then basically we're never gonna do it. Because the counties association, we have a 2-day agreement with them that we're allowed to have this resolution sent to the counties association. So it has to be sent there within 2 days. So postponing it, you might as well wait a year or 2 years or just forget it. I mean, is that right?
They are supposed to go to the counties association tomorrow. If the last one that passed will, if this one passes, it would tomorrow. Okay, why don't we go ahead and take a roll call vote on the motion to postpone? So, Deputy Clerk Peggy, if you could go ahead and do that, that'd be great.
Mr. Manning,
Mr. Manning?
Okay, so an aye vote is a motion to postpone, and a no vote is that you don't want to postpone this.
Gotchall. Glassburner.
And aye is a motion to postpone. A no is saying you do not want to postpone.
No.
Rudersdorf. Gentis.
No.
Turk.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Frank. Severson.
No.
Williamson. Cooey. Fleming. Voice. McGuire. Carroll.
No.
Murphy Lopez.
No.
Brewer.
Aye.
Deep.
No.
McKee. Renish. Luck. There's 6 aye votes and 12 noes.
Okay, so the motion to postpone fails. So now I think we're ready to go ahead and vote on the motion itself. So I think we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on that too, please.
Gotchall. Glassburner. Rudersdorf.
Aye.
Gentis.
Aye.
Turk.
No.
Cosgrove, Frank, Severson,
Aye.
Williamson, Cooey, Fleming, Voice, McGuire,
Aye.
Carroll,
Aye.
Murphy Lopez,
Aye.
Brewer,
No.
Seep,
Aye.
McKee, Renish, Luck, Manning, yeah, 13 yes, 5 no.
Okay, so that motion passes and I'll hand the gavel back over to the chair.
Number 32, appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees. Mr. Langren,
I have none for you this evening, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Reports, County Administrator, Clerk of Court.
If, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if I can just, I do have one, confirmation of a department head appointment, if we can do that. Extended an appointment for the Health and Human Services Director position to Tricia Clements. Tricia works as the ADRC Director of Vernon County. We had a pool of 4 terrific candidates that we brought in and interviewed. I had support from our Health and Human Services Chair, Ingrid Glassbrenner, and then from Chair Marty Rubert that sat in on the interviews. Tricia rose from those 4 candidates because of her extensive background in child's, youth, and family programs, and then also now working as the Division Director in Vernon County for the ADRC. So I'm looking for confirmation of an appointment of Tricia Clements to the Health and Human Services Director position effective 5 January 2022, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve that appointment.
Clinton, was that January?
Oh, I'm sorry, not January, July, the next month, the next month.
We know it. Mr. Cooey? Yes, do we have a second? This last one, yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And did you have anything to report then?
Main report is going to be tomorrow, extensive. It could be 3 to 4 hours worth of reporting. Recommend that everybody, if you are available here at 10:30, if not, it's going to be on WebEx and it also will be recorded and out there for your viewing pleasure. But again, it's going to be conditions of the county. It's going to then cover our financial planning, capital improvement planning, as well as recommendations that'll go forward to finance and personnel for consider on that same day of July 5th of next month, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I would urge all finance and personnel members to be there.
Can I ask a question? Is that,
Need a quorum.
was that the meeting that was supposed to be last Friday that
Yes.
was in the newspaper?
Yes, it is. Yep. Thank you. Some fool went off to Scotland and came back with COVID, so then we had to postpone.
I got himself sick. Stacy Claims.
Make the crowd happy before they leave. Oh, you want me to use mine? Thank you. I'll try not to. All right, so I've never shared something through WebEx. So let's see how this goes. What do you want to share? Screen? We use a Zoom platform when we are doing court, so this is a grand experiment for me. So my presentation is slightly different than what I put in your, sent to Derek for your report. I jazzed it up a little bit. So you'll want to look at the screen and not your individual screens. Begin by introducing myself. My name is Stacy Kleist. I serve as Richland County's Clerk of Circuit Court. I'm happy to be here tonight to talk to you about what a clerk of court does and the role of my office in our local justice system. In a nutshell, my office is your access and everybody's access in the county to the court system. That's why I'm here today. I'm going to explain who we are, what we do, and how we serve the community. Clerks of Circuit Court are elected every 4 years in each of the state's 72 counties. All 72 counties have a circuit court system. We are statutorily responsible for a variety of functions. Those functions have a huge impact on our court system, and they do play an important role in our communities. That picture is of the window to the Clerk of Court's office. This presentation, by the way, is an adaptation of one that I helped develop for all of the clerks of court in the state. I chair the Wisconsin Clerk of Court's Publicity Committee, and I currently serve as president of the Clerk of Court Association. This is my team. As the Clerk of Circuit Court, I'm the one who's elected to serve the county, but I can't run the courts all by myself. I can't do what needs to be done in both the courtroom and the office. So these folks right here, I wish the picture was bigger so you really could see them well. In a court setting, the persons who perform the work in the courtroom and the office, other than the Clerk of Court, are titled as Deputy Clerks of Court. That causes some confusion from time because some folks say, how come you get 2 deputies? Well, it's like the sheriff. The sheriff has a chief deputy and he has many deputies. And my office is the same. It's just the title of what those folks who perform that work are called. They're Deputy Clerks of Court, and there are 2 of them. In Richland County, Sarah Earhart is my chief deputy in the office. She is my right hand in the courtroom, and she's my right hand in the office for everything related to criminal, traffic, and ordinance court. With criminal and traffic court, it takes up a lot of the court's calendar. So she spends a lot of her time in the courtroom, but she also has a number of duties that she performs in the office, including the management of court records and correspondence with attorneys, defendants, law enforcement, and prosecuting agencies, just to name some of the folks that she has regular contact with. DJ Adams serves as our civil and family deputy. He works primarily in the office, but he can be found in the courtroom whenever there are family court hearings or matters involving civil and small claims cases. He works with individuals and attorneys in family and civil cases and is our court's liaison to the Child Support Agency. We are the keepers and the creators of the public record. Much of what we do in the way that we keep our records is governed by state statute and the Wisconsin Supreme Court rules. It involves a lot of different things. All 3 of us are county employees, but we work on a state system. Our duties are defined by state statute and model record-keeping guidelines that are developed by the attorneys at the Wisconsin Court Operations Director of State Courts Office. These rules govern everything from the way that we take our minutes in court cases to the number of years that we maintain our court records. Earlier tonight, you talked about a policy for how you retain county records. We have Supreme Court rule that dictates how we maintain court records, how many years we keep everything from traffic cases to murder cases, and the exhibits in all of those matters. The 3 of us here in the team, we work together with other departments to run the courts and ensure smooth daily operations for all judges and court commissioners who preside over hearings every day. We're also the ones who set up and communicate the details of hearings. For 2 years during COVID, we are the ones who made and communicated Zoom arrangements for literally thousands of hearings. Our courtroom, it's beautiful. It got some much needed TLC the last couple of years. In addition to new carpet and much needed paint and wall repair, the courtroom received a major sound and audio upgrade. And so I'll point out the components of that. On the left-hand side of the photo, you can see the large projection screen. Then on the very right-hand side of the photo, about 2/3 of the way up on the wall, you'll see the mounted projector unit that projects across to that. Prior to that renovation, the projector unit was located on the floor. So it was up towards the front of the room. The 2 tables that are there in the center of the room, right in front of the attorney's rail. The left of that, the left table is the defense table. And then the table between that and the windows in the back is the clerk of court's bench where we take minutes from. So in between those 2 areas, there was this large box and the projection unit there. So it it was awkward in the movement of, parties up in the front of the courtroom. And actually it was kind of a court security issue because the court security officers couldn't see around it well with what was happening in the front of the room. So getting that projector unit up on the wall over to the other side really did a lot of things for us there. And really, this picture does not do justice to the beauty up there in that courtroom. It really is one of the most grand courtrooms I've seen, and I've seen a lot of courtrooms and court facilities in the state. And this is where Richland County's justice system does business. By contrast, there are some areas where work needs to be done. I will send this PowerPoint presentation out. I'll send it to Barb so she can send it to everyone after this, and then you can get a closer look at these photos. We are very grateful for the work that was done in the courtroom, and we're very grateful for the new roof on the building. But before that roof was done, there was a lot of damage that happened. And these are areas of the court facilities. The pictures, the first 2 on the left there, are the law library. So the first picture is the door to the law library, and above it, there is a glass panel. And so actually from out in the doorway, and you look through the panel, you can see part of where the ceiling has fallen down. So you don't even have to step in the room to see the damage. But then when you walk inside there and you look up, there's a lot of damage. So that law library is a meeting space for attorneys and clients. It's sometimes used as an overflow area for judges. So it's embarrassing that it looks like this, obviously. And then if you go to the other side of the courtroom, there is an area that is used for staging victims and witnesses during trials. And for other things, it's typically day in, day out, it's a meeting area, particularly for people who are coming in, filing restraining orders or victims in various matters. And that is on that side of the building that also had water damage. I took a picture and forgot to include it there's a place where you go up the stairs outside of the district attorney's office, and when it rained a lot, the water would come down inside the wall. And so, that's like bubbled on the wall there. It was significant. So now that the roof's fixed, those areas need to be fixed. And then the jury room, the picture on the right, we are lucky, knock on wood, no water damage in there, no ceiling damage. It's just a room that needs a little TLC. We're back to using it now for jury trials post-COVID. We would really appreciate if it could have some new flooring and fresh paint, like new carpet, fresh paint. But in the minimum, fresh paint. So high points, we ended the year under budget and over on revenue. I don't know the exact numbers of how everything landed out. At one point, I think we were nearly $100,000 over on revenue. I know we did well. We did conduct several jury trials. I believe that we had 6 that were started. One of them kind of flopped out in the beginning with somebody entering a late plea. So we didn't actually have 6 that went to trial. But for that many in a year for us, over the last decade, that was more than what we had in probably like 3-4 years together sometimes. And a lot of it was the COVID, what had kind of like snowballed during early on in COVID and couldn't go because of that. And so then once we opened operations back up, we practiced COVID safety and we separated folks like in the large gallery in the courtroom. We used the space of our courtroom as the #1 asset as we made plans. And like shown in that other slide, we have a technically enhanced courtroom and one that's also more comfortable, and it really does justice to the beauty of our courthouse. So every day, we continue doing whatever it takes to meet the needs of the Richland County Circuit Court and the people we serve. That means that we continue to manage the records. It's perhaps one of the most important functions that we do because we're the custodian of the record. And that is, that's one of the core duties of being a constitutional officer serving the court. Every day, all day long, we create and maintain court records. We produce the written orders that dictate sentencing requirements for individuals who've committed crimes and other punishable offenses in our county. We record liens and monetary judgments. And most importantly, for the general public, we provide the access to those public court records. This is a picture of some old, they call them shuck drawers. We used to have like a whole wall of them in the vault. And through the destruction of records that we're allowed to do by Supreme Court rule, we actually, with old records, we offer them to the Wisconsin Historical Society. So none of those very old records were destroyed. They all were transferred over to the care of the Wisconsin Historical Society. They brought out a bunch of interns, boxed them up, and I mean like carloads of boxes, and took them. We still have a few records to transfer over that way, but it's kind of a nice arrangement. So we do not store anything anymore like this, but it makes for a cool picture. Last year, the clerk of court collected nearly $262,000 for the county. That's the portion that stayed in the county. A large part of this amount was related to the guardian ad litem and attorney fee reimbursements that were due back to the county for individuals who receive such appointments. The county pays for those types of attorneys, but then my office gets the reimbursement back to the county for that. In addition to the money that we collect through financial transactions at our office, Richland County receives aid from the state of Wisconsin to fund part of the court system because the circuit court is a partnership between the county and the state. So there's that state aid component from the state and also all of the hardware that we use. All of our computers are state owned. All of our printers are state owned. Our digital audio recording system that the court reporters use in the courtrooms, state owned. The county has to provide the wiring, but the state provides the equipment. And when something goes wrong, they provide the IT support. So, and that's the CCAP system. So Circuit Court Automation Program, CCAP. When you go and you look for records and judgments and whatever on the computer and the internet, you're looking at Wisconsin Circuit Court access. We might cringe a little when people call it CCAP, but we get, that's what they're talking about, but it's really not right. CCAP is the software we use on the system that we use it. Circuit Court access is when you are looking at the internet at those public records. We manage juries. That includes selecting, notifying, and orienting the potential jurors. And we ensure the safety and comfort of jurors throughout their entire service. As mentioned, last year we had the most jury trials that we have had. And, you know, we're lucky that we didn't have more. There were tons of them on the calendar and most of them settled. And in the course of our work, we connect with the community. We're the ones that you turn to when you have a question, a challenge, or a problem that involves the courts. We're also a connection and a link between the judiciary, the county boards, and the public. And at the end of the day, we have to make our courts run smoothly and efficiently. Everybody that comes to the courts, that's what they're counting on. I really like this quote from Judge Randy Koshnick. He's the director of state courts, not just because it's a big compliment for all the clerks of court. Of course, it's really nice, but it also sums up the answer to the question, what do you do? We really do whatever it takes to keep our court system running, to be the connection for various stakeholders, and to provide that access to everyone. And with that, I'll open it up to questions. Come on, nothing? Just one, please. Somebody, anybody. Thank you. Excellent question. We select them randomly through software, but the way that they're initially brought into every county is an interface between our software and the Department of Motor Vehicles. So if you have a Wisconsin driver's license or a Wisconsin photo ID through the Department of Motor Vehicles, you are fair game and could possibly be brought in through that data dump. It's like a random thing. The director of state court says, how many jurors do you need for the year? They ask all 72 counties. We give them a lump sum. We get a batch of data that's all like, to look at it, doesn't even make sense. It's whatever. So it's completely random. And then it generates into a name list, and we send out the qualification questionnaires. And from that, we build our pool. Yes. Nope, years ago, like decades ago, there was something to do with voting lists. I would say it's got to be 20 years or more ago. Yep, tell them that, if they drive or they got a photo ID, that's it. And as far as the thing with the voting, if you are convicted of a felony, you lose your right to vote while you're on felony supervision. And you also lose your right to do jury duty. So those are the two rights that get restored when you once you're off felony supervision. The only thing that people lose forever is their right to possess a firearm if they're convicted as a felon. So a lot of people out there, they had a felony way back when they were, young. And they go their whole life not voting. We've had people come in for jury duty and they say, I can't be here because I'm a convicted felon. They're like, well, are you off supervision? Well, yeah, it was a drug charge 30 years ago. Well, then your rights were restored. And the judge will say, your right to do jury duty and to vote was restored. Your probation agent should have told you that. Surprising how many people have thought that they couldn't vote because they were convicted felon. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Anyone else have a question?
I think you can't run for public office either if you're convicted of felon, so,
Yes, Julie Fleming, ask your question into the mic.
Oh, goodness sakes. A lot. There's no mechanism for writing off court debts. So, by a judge's order, you could write off things that you've attempted collections on, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. And it depends on, let's say for traffic and court fines and stuff, probably at least $500,000. But keep in mind, that's not all county. We only get a portion of that. It really depends on, like in a criminal case, we get very little of the cost because the prosecuting agency is the state of Wisconsin. State Patrol writes a ticket, we get very, very, very little of that. County writes a ticket, we get a lot more. Same with city, we don't get much of that. So, and that's why I say, you know, if you're wanting to know how much county, that's really hard to look at. And as far as, the attorney stuff, like in the course of a year, we spend over $100,000 on attorney fees, all the guardian ad litem and the criminal game counsel and all that kind of stuff. And in the course of the year, we recoup, you know, pretty close to that same amount, but we're probably not recouping the dollars that were shelled out last year. We're not recouping those. We're recouping what was from several years ago because it's an ongoing effort to get money from people. Done. Thank you. You guys will all be invited to the investiture of Judge Lisa McDougall, and that is on Monday, July 11th at 2:00. So the formal, like, invites of that haven't went out yet. It will be pretty much like local leaders. It's not going to be something that's put on the radio and the paper for everybody to attend. We wouldn't have, you know, room for that anyways. And it's a more somber celebration than, of course, like a, you know, judge's retirement and
I
whatnot.
wondered if it would be as much fun as Judge Sharp's retirement.
I doubt it.
Apparently not.
I doubt it. And then she actually is sworn in on June 29th in like just a private, you know, just a very, just a formality sort of deal. And then she does her like 2.5 week observation with other judges. And then I think she takes the bench on like July 18th, maybe a week after. Either on July 15th, that Friday, or the following Monday, she'll take the bench here. So. She will, you know, I don't know, actually. I would assume so, but I guess and again, it's probably just, I don't even know who gives her that oath, that formality oath. I really don't know. I'm gonna guess maybe like the chief judge of the district or something like that. And then during her investiture, it will be more of it's kind of like having a private wedding and then you know, a public celebration. That's kind of what the investiture is that public celebration. She'll have already been sworn in by that point. Nope. Nope, we don't do that. But the judges, of course, they perform ceremonies, but.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yep, thank you.
Good to save the best till last. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Manning, seconded by McKee. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
See you all in 13 hours.
I'll be there, man.
Be sure to tell the